Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, war games and YouTubers, Boom Shakaboxer here, and in our last carrier episode, we demonstrated the Suiho, and so this time, we'll begin our take on the Bogue by introducing its strike variant. 2 dive bombers, 1 torpedo bomber, no fighters.
Starts.
Now the Bogue just happens to be my absolute favorite World War II naval ship, but more importantly, it's as early as Tier 5, where you begin to see the modular disparity between the Japanese and American CV lines. Japanese carriers having the better flexible options, whereas USN carriers have access to specialized loadouts. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether one CV line is better than the other, that's for you to decide. All I want to do through this Kraken series is provide some sort of foundation for you guys to see what success looks like so that you may emulate it. We're playing in the Tier 6 standard battle on Trident with 2 CVs per side, multiple battleships, an enemy Cleveland, and some DDs. So there's still a bit of diversity, but with 5 battleships to bomb, I have ample opportunities here to realize my potential as a strike Bogue. Alright, you're in the hot seat. It's time for a quick trivia question. What's the most important mechanical skill necessary to be successful as a CV captain? The answer is micro. Even as I play in high tier carrier battles, I see a lot of captains that still simply Control plus A click their entire air group into one big cluster, either through bad habit, laziness, or a combination of other factors. If there's one thing you get out of this video, don't do that. As soon as the enemy sees that big blob, there's absolutely no decision making necessary and it gets punished. But if you can micro and delegate different assignments for each individual air group, you open up decision making opportunities. Now the enemy has to make reads before they can successfully act, and it becomes something like a chess game. And immediately right here, we're going to see an application made available by playing the strike Bogue. The enemy Haruna panic repairs my 2 fires and puts herself in a situation where I can cause damage over time with flooding. A 3 out of 10 for that drop angle, but a 10 out of 10 for recognizing the immediate repair and following up with an immediate flooding. Before any enemy support can come in, my bombers have already dropped their payload and already safely on the way back. And because I'm doing a video on the strike Bogue and eventually the other American strike carriers, there's one vital thing that I absolutely must say. Second slot in upgrades, AA modifications 2, which increases your AA range by 20%, bringing it up to 6 kilometers. This will effectively make you impervious to strikes from the Suiho and also give you that AA range to deal with potential air superiority Bogues. Flight Control Mod 1, which decreases your servicing time, is not as important at Tier 5, simply because you do not have the hangar capacity to replenish your losses. The American carrier line provides access to highly specialized builds, something I said before, and because of that, more than any other tech tree in this game, your success is pivoted on properly building and understanding your role. And as we prepare our second strike, several things to pay attention to. The enemy Cleveland and Suiho are on the westerly side of the map. The enemy also has a couple of isolated battleships on the east. Finally, notice how much damage I managed to inflict through one successful damage over time strike. The 2-week average for a Bogue is 30k damage, and I'm already at 50k and climbing after one strike. This is the potential made available through the strike loadout. You might ask, well, can I also do this with Japanese CVs? And the answer to that question is yes, but it comes at a cost. Because Japanese air groups have 4 planes, whereas American air groups have 6 planes, there is a higher probability of suffering attrition, similar to how that Suiho lost 3 torpedo bombers trying to drop me and not getting much out of it. One important warning to remember, however, is that while fires are practically guaranteed, flooding is not. And so there is a little room for you to experiment and play around with whether you want to initiate an attack with a torpedo bomber or dive bomber first. For me, I just go with the flow and capitalize on whatever opportunities I have, as no opportunities last forever. You either take it or leave it.
All forces requesting assistance. Group 2 engaging enemy.
I dropped a little too far, giving the Kirishima ample time to maneuver, but fortunately for me, he doesn't have the HP left for even a minor mistake, and I bring home a kill.
Battleship sunk.
And as I begin to service my next strike group, I take a moment to reassess the combat situation and notice on the western flank that the Cleveland has been sunk, which will now allow me access to the western battlefield at a more manageable attrition rate. Earlier, I mentioned that it was important to understand the role of the ship, and as a strike Bogue, the point of emphasis is doing damage that leads to kills. Having the capacity to sortie 3 bomber groups gives you the opportunity to stagger drops and inflict damage over time, and that damage over time plays a pivotal role in securing kills. This is not something you can do in the air superiority Bogue, nor is this something you can do in the stock Bogue loadout. Those two play a functionally different style, which I will discuss about in future videos. Damage over time is a trademark and the role of the American strike carriers. With that said, if you asked me today which loadout I would recommend for the Bogue, I would actually recommend the stock loadout. The game has undergone a tremendous amount of change in terms of carrier gameplay since its introduction, that in today's World of Warships, the stock loadout with its 1 fighter, 1 torpedo bomber, and 16 plane reserve will arguably give most players the most consistent experience.
Group 3 approaching target.
One final thing I have to mention about the Bogue and Suiho is that as of the latest patch, the matchmaker has now limited tier 5 carriers to a plus and minus 1 spread, and coupled with the hype of German Battleships, this makes it possible for such games as the one being demonstrated to happen.
Group 4 awaiting instructions. Group 3 standing by for instructions.
If you were ever hesitant and want to give strike American CVs and especially the Bogue a try, now is the time. I can't ever recall in months past when the last time I saw a strike Bogue was, but now I'm seeing them in waves. The only caveat is that this is on the US server, as I'm not too sure if this is also true on the Europe, Asia, or Russia server. As we finalize the mid-game and begin to enter into the late-game situation, pay attention to the remaining team compositions. The enemy team still has 2 destroyers, and if they play safe, our battleships will not be able to properly engage them. When the time comes, it will be up to me and the other Bogue to lock them down. Everyone is in their own little world, and it's times like these that it's more of a thinking game than an acting game. There's only so much you can do, so it's better to do what you can and not what you can't. In this situation, there's a higher chance I can help the battleships in the west than the cruiser at their flag. so that's what I opted for.
Group 2, maintaining present course.
One of the things you learn to appreciate when playing Strike is realizing at the end of the day, the enemy team can shoot down as many planes as they want, but if your team sinks 12 ships, your team wins the game. And as a Strike carrier with late game Strike packages available, you put you and your team in a position to positively affect the game. That's all there is to it.
Group 2, engaging enemy.
Group 3, engaging enemy. Group 3, returning.
Enemy battleship foundered.
Group 2, returning to ship. Group 2, returning.
One quick tool tip to pick up here. In general, after your bombers have dropped their payloads, they become just as fast, if not faster than fighters. And as you can see here, this fighter can chase my torpedo bomber all day long, and the only thing he'll eat is lead from my AA. Although it's not apparent in this video, prior to the introduction of the United States battleship Texas, the Bogue with AA modifications too had unparalleled Tier 5 AA. And against air superiority Bogue players, I often had games where they would chase my planes towards my ship and underestimate the 6-kilometer range, only to find out how easily I could shoot down their planes, and on a few occasions even get a Clear Skies award with no fighters. But say they are conservative and don't chase towards your ship, then in that situation you can still have the liberty to leapfrog your bombers from allied ships. It's a 20-minute game, and a 2 to 3 minute delay until your first strike is not going to break the game in the enemy's favor, especially if they only have one offensive dive bomber. On the other hand, that doesn't mean you can just stay passive, because if you do, then the enemy CVs have the liberty to perma-spot your allied destroyers. Be aggressive in finding openings and forcing the enemy CV players into making decisions. Again, this is why micro is so essential to carrier captains.
Group 3, taking fire. Group 3, engaging enemy. Group 3, returning to ship.
Group 2, we're under attack. Group 2, engaging enemy. Group 2, returning.
Enemy destroyer sunk.
With the Minikaze having free access into our flag, I know for a fact that he's simply going to shoot up the gap. During the actual gameplay, I momentarily missed his specific location and almost gave him a chance to sink me, which we will see soon enough.
Group 3, ready for takeoff.
But first, the remaining 3 torpedo bombers from the Suiho, which again are effectively no threat against me.
Group 2, ready for takeoff.
Group 3,
And now realizing that I'm detected but not seeing the kamikaze with my dive bombers, I know I made an error, but was fortunate enough to barely spot him with my torpedo bomb.
Group 2 taking fire.
Group 4, standing by for instructions. Over. Group 4, taking fire.
Group 2 approaching target.
Group 3, standing by for instructions. Over.
Group 2 returning.
Fortunately landing at least one hit, giving my dive bombers a chance to finish him off.
Attack. Group 4 taking fire. Group 3 approaching
Eagle 1,
target.
DB1, miss.
For takeoff.
DB2, hit. Good kill. Good
We
kill.
sunk an enemy destroyer.
Group 4.
The ship is on fire! Problem solved, sir.
As good as the game I played, I don't think anyone besides me and that kamikaze realizes how easily this game could have swung in the enemy's favor had I missed both dive bombers. But at the same time, who knows, maybe my dive bombers denied my secondary gunners a chance at an epic kill. Close quarters experts for the Kraken? Now that would have been amazing, but hey man, a win's a win. And in this final segment, I can either go for the Suiho or the Bogue, and knowing that the Suiho has less AA, I opt to try to find him.
Group 3 ready for takeoff. Group 4 ready for takeoff. Group 3 maintaining present course.
For those that are observant, the point differential is on our favor because our Nuremberg was on their cap earlier and denied them several ticks of the cap, giving us a slight advantage. Additionally, had the Nuremberg not capped, because our team compositions were slightly different, we would be up by 10 points if we had the same situation.
Group 4 taking fire.
Group 2 awaiting instructions.
There's not much more to see here, as I actually messed up my final drop against the Suiho, and you'll see it as my bombers end up doing donuts instead.
Approaching target. Group 3 taking fire. Group 4 returning to ship.
With that said, I hope you captains enjoyed this video and learned some concepts that you can add to your own game. Feel free to ask any questions, and if you enjoyed this kind of content, leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Until next time, this is Boom Shaka Boxer, signing out.